What's up guys, Jake here, and today on the channel we have an extremely exciting video. We're going to be interviewing the one and only Mr. Caleb Rapoport from the band Nerd Halen. Nerd Halen is an ultimate Van Halen tribute band with just a little bit of a twist. They all dress up like nerds. It is such an awesome band and I can't wait to ask Caleb a few questions. Sneak peek, we're going to get to see Caleb's brand new Stripe series Frankie Relic up close, and he's also going to tell some amazing stories about him with the man himself, Mr. Eddie Van Halen. So before we get started, I do just want to say, if you're a new visitor to my channel, thanks so much for stopping by, and do remember to hit that subscribe button. That way you get notified every time I upload a brand new video. However, after the video, do not forget to check out the description, because down below I'm going to be putting links to Caleb and Nerd Halen's social media, nerdhalen.com, all their merch, so make sure to check that out after the interview. Without any further adu, let's go ask Caleb a few questions.
Yo.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Sweet. Let me just pull up my questions. I just wanted to ask, is there anything you wanted to go over before we started or anything?
No, I kind of like it organic, so.
Sweet. Well, it's nice to virtually meet you, man. How have things been going with the world kind of falling apart?
It'll get back. I think
it will.
I think it's good that everyone has a sense of what's important again.
Yeah.
So
why don't you start with telling everybody, about your band and all that?
Sure. Are we on?
We're on. We're recording. We're going.
All right. Well, the band is Nerd Halen, and I've been, playing guitar since I was 13 years old, and into this and into that and other careers and other aspirations, but always continued my love of guitar and especially this type of guitar playing. I was inspired directly by the man, and for the first 10 years of playing, I really, all I wanted to do was get his feel, not even his licks, so to speak, just the way he actually attacked and played the instrument, and that was what was more important than getting eruption note for note and all that. So after getting to a point where you play a certain way and not being able to find another way, I lost a little bit of interest in playing, and for a long time. And then did some acting and some musical theater, and was able to incorporate some of the guitar into that, and got married, had a family. Things were very not, how do you say, just didn't look like music and playing in a band was going to be anything where I would have an opportunity. But then a few years ago, I put together a cover band with my best friend on drums, and the only reason I really wanted to do that cover band was so we could play like 5 or 6 Van Halen songs, and from that we did a few gigs, and it was fun, and I was able to get my chops up to a more formidable speed, and was really interested in playing again. And the way that Nerd Halen came about was I wanted to do some sort of tribute to Van Halen, but I knew that a straight tribute with wigs and tights and cabinet stacks and all that was going to be impossible for me. I'm a rather tall gentleman, and pulling off the Eddie side of the stage would have been just kind of hard to swallow for the average fan, and I knew that. So I knew I needed to come up with a gimmick, something different, something not in the straight tribute realm. And plus there's hundreds and hundreds of straight tributes of this band, and some really good ones, and I just didn't feel like competing with them or even trying to try and match that that level of show. So I wanted to do something fun, and that where the music was as close to the bone as possible, then that would be our draw. But in the process of trying to come up with a gimmick, it came to me because I, am such a Van Halen nerd and appear nerdy. The Nerd Halen thing kind of floated into my head, and as the more I thought about it over the days and weeks, it just became an obvious thing I should try. But even then, with my procrastinative nature, I didn't do anything for a few months. But an interesting story is that I was driving a Lyft car here in Los Angeles, and I was doing it at night, and it was, not the most glamorous job.
Right.
And one night, on a Tuesday night, 10:30, in West Hollywood, I picked up Taylor Hawkins and his wife, and drove them home, which was about a 30-minute drive from West Hollywood. And we got to talking, and told him I had a cover band, and he told me he had one too, and they were called Chevy Metal, and at the time they were looking for a guitar player.
Okay.
And I told him I'll do it, and he said straight up, he just said, "Do you know any Van Halen?" And I thought that was crazy. And so when we got to his driveway, I was able to show him some videos of me playing, and he was shaking his head like, "Wow, in fact, he said, like, you're the whole deal." And he took my number and told me to be ready. He was going to call me. And, I drove home that night, midnight on a Tuesday night. It was raining too. And I thought life had changed, and that I was possibly the newest member of Chevy Metal. And, I instantly went to all their online stuff, all their YouTube videos, all their sets, wrote down every cover song they do. They do a wide variety of songs and bands. And I knew I had to be ready, because at that point, that night, I was not ready. And so I spent the next several months learning all these songs and learning Van Halen songs, many of them note for note, which I hadn't done in the past. So, because I wanted to be ready if they said, "Do you know this one?" Or,
Right.
"Do you know that one?" Not just the ones they played, but the ones they might play. And in that process, I became, 10 times the player I was.
Very cool.
At that, from that night where, he got in the car. And, what was unfortunate, and, which is the nature of the business, was that week that Taylor said we were looking for a guitar player, they had a guitar player that had stepped in for the one that they had lost. And the one they had lost was a Van Halen specialist, like a really great player. And the one they had gotten is an amazing player who's not so Van Halen centric. He's more of a Slash, Page, Rhodes type player.
Okay.
And so over the next several months, that the Foo Fighters were kicking into their 2017, 2018 two-year tour, they would sporadically do these Chevy Metal gigs, and they would do them with Brent Woods, who's Sebastian Bach's guitar player.
Oh, okay.
And so over, this was May of 2017. By the end of the year, Brent was their guitar player, and it was obvious. And then there was a gig in February of 2018 where it was at a bowling alley here in the Valley, and I went just to case the joint, because I was going to try and get in. It was very small, and it was sold out, and I went by the day before because I was in the neighborhood, and they were sound checking. So I'm in the parking lot, and Taylor gets out of a car, and I go up to him and say, "Hey, it's me, the guy from the lift, the Lyft
From the
driver,
lift.
plays Van Halen." And he was like, "Hey, whoa," and then he proceeded to tell me that they're very happy with Brent, and he was sorry to give me a false hope, and he said, "Go start your own thing. I'll come jam with you." And it felt like I've been broken up with the hottest chick, and I had to go find somebody else. But on the way home from that experience, I decided I was going to do something. I was going to do the Nerd Halen thing, and I was going to see it through. I wasn't going to half-ass it or whatnot. I was going to,
Right.
and not so that Taylor would come play with us. I wanted to outshine Taylor's thing. I wanted to, it was one of those things. It was like, I'll show you kind of thing.
Right.
But it takes a long time. This was February 2018, and by April I applied for the trademark of the name, so I didn't say anything about the name until April or May, and then by the late summer, I had two of the members, the bass player and the drummer, in, and then by October, November, I had Hal Sparks, our lead singer, and
Was that a hard spot to fill?
Absolutely. I mean, I had some people in mind, but they didn't live in California. From my theater days, I had a friend who lives in Tampa, who I thought would be perfect, but just geographically undesirable and impossible. But when I discussed, when I was originally thinking of the concept, and I had a singer that was a possibility for just a band that I was trying to start, which was before the Taylor Hawkins ride. And it was funny because when I told him Nerd Halen, he goes, "I'm not dressing up like no nerd, dude." And and that was one of the moments where I was like, that, I think it just might work.
Right.
So, because what I've learned in life is what you think is the right way, it's usually the opposite. That's just how people are.
Yep.
And you have to go outside your comfort zone to get what you want. You just have to. You have to challenge yourself. You have to do what people haven't thought of.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to be all based on passion. The Van Halen thing for me is a passion. It just always has been. But in that conversation with that singer, he told me to start hanging out at the jams in Hollywood, the Sunset Jam at the Viper Room, the Ultimate Jam at the Whiskey. There's a couple other, the one at the bowling alley, Lucky Strike. And he said, you're going to meet guys there. There's all kinds of cats, players, and that's where you'll find your players for your band. You're not going to put an ad out in the paper or online. You have to meet guys and find people that are into the same thing you're into. And plus, you have to play. You have to let people see you play. And I was like, how am I going to get up on these stages? I don't have a resume,
Yeah.
Because what I started noticing was every time they'd announce somebody at these jams, they'd say with, he plays with, and I had no with.
You didn't have a with.
So, but I started going and staying out late, something I hadn't done in a while. I have a young child, so I was just, destroying myself going to these things, but infiltrated the Ultimate Jam, mostly at the Whiskey, made friends, got people, knew people there past, you know, that introduced me to other people, and finally was able to play and show my stuff and, you know, get my name out there and talk about the project with other people. And that led to one thing, and that led to another. And that's how I filled the spots. And that's how Hal learned about it, seemed interested. And then when I was able to actually pitch him on it, he was down. So, you know, finally by January 2019, we get in a room together, the four of us, and play. So nearly, you know, 2 years after the Taylor Hawkins ride, you know, I was able to form the band that would eventually, you know, start to do things that I was wanting to do. And
So when you pitched everybody the idea of Nerd Halen, did everyone love the idea?
yeah, I mean,
That's cool.
Everybody I've ever told the idea to has said, you know, it's always like a money thing, you know, like people go, oh, you're going to make money. And I haven't made money yet, but the potential is there. You know, there's, especially now with the online, you know, presence that we have, and the kind of response I'm getting from all people all over the world want us to come to play in their city. And it's crazy, you know, it's because, you know, whenever you see someone say, come to Brazil or come to Italy, you know, you're instantly going, you picture your band like loading up and going. And that was just, I mean, I just wanted a band I could play around here with. And now that it's like a worldwide thing, and I would, you know, give the advice to people trying to do their own thing is be really smart on social media. I started a few accounts for Nerd Halen, and just I kept pushing imagery and you know, logos and T-shirts before there was ever a band. You know, before we had guys, before we played a gig.
Okay.
There was an aura about the brand. You know, this logo, you know, was out there. And it was just me, you know. I took my camera down to the driveway here and set it up and did a jump, and then took for the video, and then I took the video freeze frame of the apex of the jump, and, you know, made the logo, a crude logo, and then had my cousin, you know, do the actual thing. But everything was a process and a vision, you know, that was, you know, conceived in here and pushed out to reality. And that, you know, that's been the most satisfying thing about the whole thing, is that it's all become a reality from nothing, from a thought. And so, you know, when we were able to finally show up on the Ultimate Jam Night stage and play 2 songs, which was our first coming out, this was March 4th, 2019, you know, there was a great response, and what everyone who came up to me and Hal and the other guys afterwards said was, that was really fun. And, you know, that was a word to me that I hadn't thought about being, you know, a possibility. My original concept was, I want us to show up and walk on stage looking as stupid as possible, and everyone's standing there, you know, everybody with their attitude about what rock and roll should be. And I want them to look at their friends and go like, what is this? Prepare themselves to laugh and joke and rag on these guys. But then the music starts, and, you know, it's the real deal. You know, your eyes are telling you to laugh, but your ears are telling you, oh my God, that sounds very close to the real thing. You know, in their prime, mind you, not the real thing now. Like, you know, our attention to the detail of the original band and the original sound, and we're talking mostly, you know, 90% of the stuff we do is Roth era. And that's as of now. You know, we plan to do request sets and corporate sets and wedding sets, where people can fill out the set card, whatever they want. We'll play from any era, whatever song they want. But you know, we're just focusing on the Roth era mostly, and that's what I wanted. I want people to lower their expectations and then be very, you know, kind of blown away. And then what I didn't even factor in was when I got Hal Sparks, is that he's an entertainer, he is a comedian, he's a host, he's incredibly good at improv and on the fly antics. So there's nothing that can go wrong in these sets. You know, even if we mess up, it's part of the show.
Okay.
And he makes it part
Very
of the
cool.
show, you know, and that took me a few gigs to understand. But once I did, it made me relax a lot, because as the creator and the producer of it all, you know, I'm thinking about everybody, what they're doing, what they're not doing, what they should be doing, and it's affecting my performance. So I was able to just kind of let everything go after a few of these shows, and it got a lot more comfortable for me, and my playing reflected that. So it's been fun. We've done about 10 shows before the shutdown, and all local. But like I said, the interest has grown, and the brand has grown, and just the amount of people that know about us, the amount of people in the business that know about us, you know, the amount of people who can really make things happen for us know about us. And you know, I've heard from a lot of those people, and it's exciting, you know, and I have a lot of plans for the band, not just playing Van Halen covers. You know, we can do whatever we want, and we can do originals, we can do other songs, stuff like that. You know, we have a Christmas song out. You know, we did a Santa Claus is Coming to Town, which is basically a cover of the Bruce Springsteen version, but Van Halenized.
Very cool.
You can find that on any streaming service. It's the only Nerd Halen offering so far, and we were able to get that out just a few days before Christmas, unfortunately, so it really didn't play through the season. But we're planning to have a video and everything for this coming season, so it'll be more known then. But it's out there if people want to check it out. I'm pretty happy with the way it came out too. So
very cool.
Yeah.
So obviously you're talking like this started as like a thing you want to do locally. Is your goal to expand it? Do you want to play around, or do you want to keep it as a thing you do locally and just like kind of on the side for enjoyment?
Oh, well, I mean, you know, growing up, you know, as with, you know, when you ditch school to play guitar, you know, you want to be a rock star, and you want to take it global, no matter who you are. And that was never even a thought in my mind in the last, you know, several decades, because of just how my life had turned out. You know, I had friends that were successful in the 90s. You know, my best friend was the drummer for Tonic, and I was able to be their road manager. Yeah, I was able to be their road manager and do their first 2 years of their stretch, and from the van to the bus and the whole thing. And so I was able to experience the experience that I wanted to have for myself through my friends, and you know, see what it took. And once I saw what it took, I realized, wow, this probably is not going to happen for me, because, you know, even with one of the greatest sounding bands, there's another 75 people that have to do their job for it to all work and be successful. And those are the odds, you know, that it takes for some of these, for bands, you know, and that was in the 90s. Now it's different. You know, it's not as lucrative. It might be easier with the internet, but it's not as lucrative. So, you know, there's a lot of things you have to do differently. But then I just thought, I kind of let it go. I let the whole dream go. So now with, you know, talk of touring, you know, opening for, you know, Steel Panther. These things have all been, hinted and discussed. And
Oh wow.
obviously the band is in the vein of Steel Panther. We'd be the clean version of Steel Panther, like,
Right.
but I think that audience would do exactly what, my intention was. They'd laugh at us at the beginning, but by, the second song, they'd be rocking and having a good time and laughing in a good way. And, so yeah, now touring and playing in, multiple cities and countries is a possibility. And I think there's people out, there's brands and things that have seen that possibility. I was able to secure an artist relationship with EVH gear, and
Of course.
to me, that's, was the pinnacle of any guitar player. For me, I mean, in this genre, is to, not only get with a great company, to get with the company you dreamed about being with. Like, to someone told my young self that I would be an artist for Eddie's company someday, even at 50, I would have been like, are you kidding me? That's not real. But they at Fender, and they see the marketing possibilities through Nerd Halen. And it's not a normal tribute. It's not I'm not trying to look like Eddie Van Halen. I'm trying to do something different, but I can use Eddie Van Halen products and market them a lot better than someone who's just trying to look like Ed.
Yeah, that was one question I was super excited about, because you're endorsed by EVH Gear and FU Tone, right?
Yeah.
Which are like the two brands for shred guys, where it's like, that's it. How did that happen? Did you have to approach them? Did they approach you?
Well, with FU Tone, I've been in touch with Adam Reaver for a few years, just because I was buying his products.
Okay.
And if you call the FU Tone number, Adam Reaver is going to answer, and that's
cool.
a pretty cool thing. And so I've had a lot of phone conversations, and I've met Adam at NAMM, and we have mutual friends. He's good friends with John Levin, who's the guitar player for Doc, and John has been an old friend of mine for 20 years, and so we have some mutual friends, and that kind of legitimized me. But not even like as a musician. The Nerd Halen thing was something created after I'd already known Adam, and so when he saw the progress of the project and how it was going, and I'd seen him at NAMM in 2019, and I asked him point blank, I'd love to be one of your artists, and he said, of course, and he didn't even hesitate. So.
Oh, okay.
That was my first, endorsement, and it was shocking, but he's been awesome to me and helped me with a lot of the builds that I've done, and I believe he had something to do with the EVH thing, which was, he designed the D-Tuna for Ed, and his partners
cool.
with him on that, and is best friends with Ed's right-hand man, Matt Bruck. So that's a connection right there that obviously had something to do with Nerd Halen becoming, with the EVH brand and myself, and it still feels like a dream. So I don't.
Very cool.
I still go to the website just to see that I'm still on there. That's how weird it is for me.
I bet.
Yeah, because they're all, all the artists they have are mostly metal guys, and mostly they're all original bands. I'm the only tribute artist in their stable, and it just seems crazy to me, But they. When I was introduced to Mike Tempesta, the artist relations for Fender, the Charvel, Jackson, EVH brands, at the NAMM show this past January, he seemed interested in the idea and wanted me to send him an email the following week, and so we discussed the possibilities, and then within a month, it was official, and they sent me this thing,
Oh, very cool.
and
Is that the new Frankie Relic?
yeah,
Very, very cool.
yeah, that's it. And you know, when you just to have this guitar, I would have paid full for it after trying it in January at the NAMM show, because it really is a great guitar. It's not just a knockoff of an idea. It's really well made, and the neck is really the profile is different than the other Stripe Series guitars, and there's something very special about it. And if you've been listening and watching a lot of the guys who've received theirs, they're all saying the same thing.
It's all positive.
Yeah, it's not just just trying to sell this. And
Right.
so I had a good feeling about that. They offered me a free Stripe Series guitar, any one of them, at the time that I entered into the agreement, and I said, well, of course I want the Frankie.
Oh yeah.
Because I'd already made a few builds for the band, and I'd just done a Bumblebee, and I have the silver 5150 that I made for the initial project, and which are great guitars. I have the Space Wolf, which I did with my friend Craig Stofko from CHS Custom Guitars, who's an amazing painter. Okay. And that's like one of the more famous Wolfs around, because of its sparkle paint job. And so it's just all part of getting the Nerd Halen thing out there. But yeah, so I chose the Frankie. I was going to build one anyway. So
right.
When I tried this one and was like, oh, okay, I don't need to build one. I just need to get one of these.
It's already done for me.
Yes, and it saved me a lot of time and money, obviously. I've never been given a free guitar, so it's an honor. But
I bet. Does the neck feel broken in on it? It looks it does. Does it feel it's been played? Yeah,
I mean, they definitely color it to make it look like something, but it does feel like an old neck. It doesn't feel like a new one. So it kind of reminds me of those early 80s Charvels, the flat, wide fretboard. There's always been sort of a rounded feel to these Wolfgang and the 5150 neck, and what Eddie's been accustomed to, known to play. The Ernie Ball neck is a rounded feel, and these are more flat. So there's something very cool about it. I don't know. I can't even put it into words, but you got to try one, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So
I really want to. I haven't come across one yet, but they just seem so cool. It just looks like they nailed it, like every detail.
Yeah, no, it's surprising, because the other Stripe series were just clean versions of guitars, and if there's one thing about Eddie's early guitars, they all had a beat up factor to them. They weren't clean and shiny and lacquered, and so they made this, and who knows, maybe the next one will be a Relic 5150 or something, because I think the Relic thing is huge and popular, and
it really is right now.
Yeah, even I was kind of like, you relic it by playing it. That's how you relic a guitar, especially because there's guys that actually paint on the dirt on the neck, to make a neck look worn, and all my necks have their own wear, caused by my fingers. So that's awesome. Kind of a badge of honor, actually. But
so what do you mainly play? Is it EVH gear, the stuff you've built, your Wolfgangs, or do you play it all? You don't have a favorite?
Oh, it changes. I have a Wolfgang USA that I got about a year and a half ago. I wanted a USA Wolf from the early run of those guitars, with the maple neck, maple fretboard, bird's eye. I love the stainless steel frets, and I love the size of the vintage frets, and I've become very accustomed to that size of fret recently. So I was stocking I originally wanted the gray one, but it came with an ebony fretboard, the stealth gray. But then I just switched to the original ivory white with that was my focus. So I was always looking, and they would come up every 3 or 4 weeks. So a new one would come up on Reverb, and then there was one that was always there, and it was high priced and super mint. I just thought it was out of my price range and something I couldn't afford, and which was true. But I finally messaged the guy. I was like, what's the serial number? Because by the serial number you can find out like the time it was made, and I wanted a 2009 USA Wolfgang, and he got back to me, said the serial number was 00922, and 922 is my birthday.
Oh, so you knew you had to have it then.
It was over. It was over right away, and it's still like the best guitar I've ever played.
Wow!
It just feels perfect and sounds amazing, and it was meant to be. And the 922 could have been a black one or a sunburst. They were making 2 other versions at that time. So the fact that it was the color and that I wanted,
that is so cool.
It was amazing, and I have gigged with it, but since I got the Space Wolf, I've decided to not play it live or take it out. So it's going to stay at home where it'll be safe.
Perfect. So to elaborate, I guess, more on the live thing, what do you use live? As far as like amps, guitars, effects,
Okay.
Do you have like something, or does it change?
No, I have a rig that I've put together over the last few years. I get very nerdy with equipment and very specific. If there's a product or an item that I want, I stock it, for weeks and months.
Me too.
And then I basically, eventually fire on it. But I definitely don't impulse buy anything. I do a lot of research and asking around. I knew the amp I needed was an EVH, and I had the 6L6 50 watt twin half stack. Originally I had that, and then the local music store here in Santa Monica, California, True Tone Music, I have some friends that work there, and he said, hey, the rep from EVH is going to bring by the new EL34 half stack just for you to play, because I told him about you. And this was a few years ago. This was, I think, in 2017, before any of the Nerd Halen thing. Just because I was, that Super Eddie fan that my friend from high school works at that store. Wanted me to meet the guy and whatever. So there's a video actually on my channel about that experience, and I got to play the EL34 half stack or quarter stack before it was ever released or even announced. It was a week before it had been announced.
Oh, very cool.
And I knew right then I had to get one. So within a month or two, I had one, and I had actually had that one, which was one of the prototypes. So it's a great amp. I mean, a lot of people said there's a problem with the blue channel. I've never really experienced that. I've since had it modded and biased for a drop box that I use, which is another product I'll hawk on this show. Hang on. Let me get that out. It's called the Honeyacc, which is a variac
Oh.
drop box
Oh, wow.
It has 4 voltage voltage settings on the back to drop it from 120. So it'll drop at 20 watts, 25, 30, or 35
Okay.
volts. I mean, and I use it on the 90 setting, so I'm basically 30 down from 120, and you plug your amp in, you plug this into the wall. You know, everybody knows that when they plug their amp into a wall at a club, it's going to change.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the volts coming out of the wall could be 120, could be 126, could be 112. All right, so I'm sure there's guys who have been like, wow, my amp sounds killer tonight. That's when they plugged into a wall that has 112. Okay.
Okay.
And when it doesn't sound good is when it's 127. It's always, you don't know what you're going to get. And the Honiac makes it possible to dial in what you want.
Very
And,
cool.
and, you know, if anybody knows the, you know, Eddie amp stories, he's used a variac his whole life because he figured out early on that his Marshalls performed way better when he could turn them up and then use the variac with the dial as the master volume, so that the amps were getting a full soak on or the tubes were getting a full soak instead of, you know, the quiet volume, because
Mm-hmm.
even most modern amps you can only go to 3 now. You know,
Yeah.
it's not even, it won't even be allowed over that. And this, you know, this box makes my amp go to like 4.5, 5, and
That little bit does a lot.
yeah, and it's just sound, you can hear it. I mean, it's definitely an item that I'm glad I have, and George Lynch uses one. He has the same thing, and it's this guy Burke Hunn in Virginia, an amp maker. You can look him up if you're interested. It's called Hunn Amplification, Hunn,
Okay.
and it's a great product. And you know, you have to get your amplifier biased though, or your tubes will melt.
Break some stuff.
Yeah, they'll be faster. It might cost you something. So bias your amp for the voltage drop, but it definitely gets a gooey sound that everyone's looking for, that they don't always
Yeah.
find. So that's my amplifier situation, and then obviously I have, you know, phaser, chorus, flanger, octave. Those are all, you know, the Dunlop products, and I use the Boss Octave, and I have a reverb, the Digitech. What's it called? I always forget, but I have it just a reverb setting standard that's always on, just something that gives it some breadth.
Perfect.
And then I have the Eventide H9,
Oh, there you go.
which is a great pedal because you can use any of the Eventide algorithms that they've ever created in one pedal.
Okay.
The only thing that's not great is that you can only use one at a time. You can't stack them, so you got to get multiple Eventide H9s, which I haven't been able to do yet. But so
Right.
I use that for the more modern Eddie sound, with the more chorusy
Mm-hmm.
kind of detuned sound that he used from like 1984, 5150, obviously OUA 12, where it was completely saturated with that sound. But
Yep.
that's a fun unit to use, and I use it also for some great delays and settings that I have. You know, there's certain, like Dance the Night Away and Ain't Talking About Love have a certain timing to the delay on those tracks that I need, and I also use the Dunlop Echoplex delay too. I have
Okay.
that in there also.
The
For
delay
separate.
always on.
No,
No?
no. Most of the time it is, but
Okay.
not always.
Gotcha.
Because I have the reverb going, so it's definitely, there might be like a little slap on the the twaze sound. I call it twaze or whatever.
Okay.
The detuned sound. There's a little tiny slap you can get because on the H9 they have some Van Halen presets, and one of them is the Panama preset, and Panama has a slap, so they included a little bit of delay in there with the harmonized effects. So I was able to use a little slap there. It's very small and minute, but it's there. So
Very cool.
But that's a great pedal, and I think anybody who's doing this kind of stuff should take a look at that. And I don't use a wah anymore just because there's not a lot of wah in early Van Halen, if any. There's none, and it's such a space taker on the board. So yeah. By the way, if anyone wants to see my rig, I have a rundown rig, or run rig down, whatever I called it, so I wouldn't get sued. That's on the Nerd Halen YouTube site page.
Very cool. I will be linking that all in the description for anybody watching. So make sure to check out their merch, the Nerd Halen band, Caleb's Instagram, all that. It'll all be down below.
Yeah, we have nerdhalen.com. You can find us there, and all the links to merch and the song I told you about, and our bio, our press kit, all that stuff's on that. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Something interesting I wanted to ask. So you were talking about like getting Eddie's feel down. How do you learn the tunes? Do you do it by ear? Are you a theory person? Tab person?
Well, I did attend Musicians Institute right after high school. But the theory thing never locked in with me. I was always an ear player, and part of me, wanted to be that way because of Eddie. I knew he was classically trained, but he didn't read, and he did it all by ear and memory. And since I was such a crazy Eddie head, I just wanted to do everything the way he did it. I thought,
very cool.
Stay true to just his path, and I would have a similar one, or thought I would, but
was there ever an Eddie song or solo you just couldn't get?
There still are. I mean, I just put up the Ice Cream Man solo the other day, and there's parts of that solo I won't be able to get. There's parts of everything he's played that are just in his hands only. There's some guys, there's truly some guys out there that are really, really good and do it really, really well and nail it almost perfect. And
it's kind of scary how they do that.
It is. And even, I'm impressed. I get mentioned now in the same, sentence with some of these guys, and it doesn't really compute because, I'm more of a feel guy. Like I try to get the feel, like I said. I'm not trying to get the note for note. And whenever people put comments on my videos, they're like, oh, you missed a few, and I'm like, yeah, well, that's obvious, and that's kind of by design, and actually I added a few. So that's the way I do it. I'm never ever trying to get it as close to him as possible. I just want to get it, because if you ever watch him play live, he never gets it right on, and he doesn't care to.
The same.
He doesn't care to. So why should I? It's all where he's at. If you're trying to do it spot on, you'll probably won't be able to, and two, you'll look like you messed up. So why not just do it the way you would do it? So no, I'm not a theory guy. I'm not a reader, and to tell you the truth, when I was studying up for the Chevy metal thing, I went on YouTube, which I didn't have as a kid, and I learned all the songs from a guy named Doug Steele, who's who's a great metal guitar player who has a great lesson page and a great style of teaching. It basically just says, here it is, this is it, how you do it, blah. And he's got a lot of Van Halen, especially early Van Halen content on his page that I just, anytime I need to learn a song or solo, I just go to Doug, and we're actually friends now. So
oh, very cool.
He's a great dude, and I recommend it. If you're trying to learn this stuff, learn from somebody who's a fan and has the feel. Doug has the feel too. So check him out, Doug Steele.
Did you ever try to get Eddie's feel, or did you just resort to your own feel?
No, I mean, I've always tried. That's why I started.
Okay.
I saw the Who play in 1982 at the Coliseum here, with 90,000 people. I ditched school with some friends. I was in 7th grade, and we had a teacher's assistant drive us to the Coliseum, at 10 o'clock in the morning from school, and I didn't tell my parents I was leaving school. This is, 7th grade. You're
Wow.
You're 12 or 13. I was 13 years old, and stayed into the late night at the Coliseum with a bunch of crazy people. But I saw one of the greatest concerts I'd ever saw, and
That's so cool.
it was only the second concert I'd ever seen at that point. And I knew that night that I wanted to play rock and roll. I didn't know if I wanted to be a drummer. I didn't know if I wanted to be a singer. I didn't know if I wanted to play guitar or bass, but I knew I wanted to play. And that was in October of 1982. And then I think I got an acoustic guitar a very short time later, and tried to learn some stuff, and went to a teacher and was very disillusioned because acoustic ain't rock and roll to me, and
Right.
and it's hard on your hands, and you have to break through the atmosphere of that. You have to literally bleed, and it didn't take. So that's in late 82, and then by March of 83, this is a famous story I tell anybody who watches me on, the Johnny Bean Show, which I'm a regular on. I've told this story several times. My family, my dad was in the business, a screenwriter, and we had friends who worked. We had a friend who worked on One Day at a Time, which was Valerie's show.
Oh, yeah.
And we would go to the tapings, and then in March of 82 or 83, we went to the finals. They call it the wrap party, which is the end of the season. And I snuck into the green room area from the bleachers and the sound stage.
No kidding.
And met the kid on the show, Glenn Scarpelli, and he saw another kid and was like, a kid, and,
Instantly friends.
Right. And then I saw that all the directors' chairs there with everyone's name on them, and then one written in tape that said Eddie, and I was like,
oh, no kidding.
Is he going to be here? And he goes, who, Eddie? Yeah, you want to meet him? And then a few minutes later, Eddie and Alex walk in.
Oh, no kidding. And how old were you?
I was 13. And,
completely starstruck then.
Yeah. But I didn't know, like I didn't know what, I knew who he was, and that everyone said what he was, which was the best,
You didn't know yet he was going to be such an influence, though.
I didn't know why.
Okay.
He was the best, and I didn't know what he was doing. I'd heard, I'd heard hits, like Pretty Woman was a big song at the time, and Little Guitars, and then I had the first two records, and Only Dance the Night Away and You Really Got Me were songs I liked because I'd already heard them in my, on the radio.
Sure, yeah.
And everything else was just kind of noise, and I didn't know what he was doing. I didn't understand it. But
did he say anything to you when you met him? Do you remember
at
all?
all? I spent 3 hours sitting there backstage at that show, talking to him and Alex the whole time.
Oh, no kidding.
And completely, just involved with those two guys for 3 hours as a 13-year-old kid. And,
I can't imagine.
And for not once did they say, like, who's this kid? Like, get him out of here. They just treated me like, a person. And it changed, obviously changed my life completely. That night was the change of my whole life. I went home, and instantly wanted an electric guitar, and instantly learned, listened to all the stuff. And then I got, oh, that's why, okay. And that's when, over the next several months, not only did I feel like his friend because of the way he treated me that day, I felt like almost like, it was like a, Obi-Wan Kenobi moment, where I was, he touched my head or something, and, he put the power into me or something. It was just a weird feeling.
That's so crazy. I can't believe you spent 3 hours with them.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what they even said, but they're pretty cool guys, I assume.
Yeah, well, Alex is very outgoing and told a lot of jokes. He was constantly telling dirty jokes,
Okay.
to a 13-year-old, and trying to shock me, I believe, and but Ed was like asking me, what sports I liked and where I went to school and what part of town I grew up in, and all these questions that you'd never expect, a celebrity or
Right.
the world's greatest guitar player to ask you or to be even concerned with, but he has a very ordinary guy kind of quality. And if you've heard other stories about him, he looks you in the eye, when you're talking to him,
Mm-hmm.
and and has a genuine interest in you when you're
Wow.
in his, in his sight. That's he's not looking past you, if
Right.
that makes sense. And that's something I noticed that night. And sure, I want to learn all the licks and get all the tricks and be like him as a guitar player. But what struck me the most was how he was with me as a person. And
Very genuine, it sounds like.
I swear to you, uh, I've adopted that quality in him
Very cool.
over my lifetime, and how I treat people. Like, he taught me how to treat people. I have good parents, I have good upbringing, I know how to treat people, but he taught me a way to make people feel comfortable, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because not everybody's comfortable around him. You know,
Right.
it's just the way it is. People think it's their only time. They get very desperate for that moment, and he has figured out a way to kind of slow that all down and make it more of a regular kind of experience, and I have, it's like, that's how I have lived since then, was to, you know, make people feel comfortable, be interested in what they're doing. You only have what's in front of you in the present,
Right.
and so that was at a very important, moment in my life. And obviously, for the next 7, 8 years, I was chasing him,
Is that the
through.
only time you met him, or have you
No,
met him again?
I've met him again. So um, then I ran into him at a NAMM show. Uh, he wasn't in the best state, uh, and everybody is there and, reaching for him. So there wasn't a connection, or there wasn't like a remember me moment or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But probably, so when I was 19, obviously I knew where he lived. I knew both the houses where he lived.
That is so crazy to me.
Oh yeah. Well, when you're obsessed, you do what you can.
Yeah.
Um, I originally found out his address because of we were friends with the local police officer here in the area in Los Angeles, and they had those computers in the police cars,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, can you find an address based on a license plate?
No kidding.
And I don't want to get that guy in trouble. It was, almost, it's 35 years ago, but I gave him Eddie's license plate, and he gave me the address. So
So, do you ever try to see how close you could get to the 5150 studio?
I've driven up there. In fact, I used to deliver pizza in Beverly Hills, and one time I went up there with a hot pizza and rang the bell as a mistake.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And then
No one stops you? I feel like it's like this big, like,
no,
cherished
they
area.
stopped me. They said
Oh,
we
okay.
didn't
Okay.
order anything. I was hoping they would say, "Oh yeah, do you want a pizza? We want a pizza."
Come on in.
That was crazy.
That's so funny. I know a guy who knew Alex and Eddie, and he actually went out to dinner with them and gave them the leftover pizza. And he's like, "Dude, I kept it in my freezer for like 6 months.
Right.
I thought it was magic."
Yeah.
But
No,
he says the same thing you said. They're just such genuine people,
hmm
and Alex is kind of a goofball.
Yes. But Alex will, talk your ear off. Like you'll be like, "Okay, all right." I gotta go. But
He tells this other story I think is so funny. I forget. Somehow he ended up knowing them, and he went to all their shows, and he always got backstage. But he was at the hotel and he saw them, and Alex was like, "This is when they were with Sam," and he's like, "Dude, Sammy's coming down that hallway. Okay, you got to run out there and just flip him off. And when he looks at you, just run away." And I guess he does it and runs back to them, and they're just dying of laughter. And he's like, and they never elaborated on it. I just flipped Sammy Hagar off because Alex Van Halen told me to.
oh my God.
It's just that's why I find it so interesting that you say
shows you how things were going.
Oh
But,
man, that's too funny.
No, I was able to go by the Malibu house and recognize one of Valerie's brothers who I'd met at the NAMM show, because he was working with Kramer Guitars in the late '80s, taking pictures of Eddie for them, and doing a lot of the Kramer ads. So he recognized me, and before I knew it, I was down on the property on the Malibu beach house and talking to Eddie once again. And
Wow.
And that's a great story, because during the conversation we were talking about bowling. They wanted to go bowling, and he asked me, what was the closest bowling alley that I would go to, and I told him of a place in Santa Monica that I knew about, and he said cool. And then maybe a half hour later, I was out on the side of the house, and there was like a trampoline or something, and I'm jumping on a trampoline at Eddie and Valerie's house, and I hear somebody say, "Hey, Caleb," and I look over in the side of the house, and leaning out of the kitchen doorway on the phone is Eddie Van Halen, and he's going, "What's the name of that place in Santa Monica, that bowling alley?" And I go, "Bayshore Pins," and he goes, "Right." Goes back inside. He was on with information, 411. And I would, that's a moment in my life where, from the moment I met him the first time to that moment, was a chase, and it was an obsession. And to have him say, "Hey, Caleb," and it was over for me. Like, I was able to let it go, and I did. It kind of all subsided, the infatuation, the obsession, because you want your hero to know you. You just do. I don't, anybody who's inspired by somebody, they want that person to know who they are. They want they want approval, whatever that it is. I just wanted him to know me. And,
how cool.
So when he said my name,
that's it. It's like
I was done, and it was very, very cool moment. And then I was able to meet him years later, and that was another funny story, because he thought I was somebody else, and so that was hilarious. But and then now, I know he knows about the band. I know he knows about.
So how do you know that?
Because I was told,
Oh wow.
And he thinks it's a great idea, and otherwise I'd be hearing from certain people that work for him. So
I imagine.
Yeah, for sure. And so as long as I can keep that in good graces, we're good here with this thing. But obviously, he does know about all the artists that, you know, represent him. And
Oh, of
so
course.
he knows about that. So it's a very cool thing. It's way more than I ever thought it would be at this point, even though, you know, we haven't played a lot of shows. We haven't played a lot of big shows. You know, we haven't had you know, huge moments of success. It's more been like kind of a vibe surrounding the band and the idea and the want. You know, a lot of people want us to play, and that's exciting. That's what I'm looking forward to most when all this craziness ends.
No kidding.
Is, you know, and like I was saying at the beginning, I think live music is going to be the biggest. It's gonna reap the biggest reward after all this, because people realize that what they miss the most is going to a live show and being around a lot of people.
I think that is so true. I was just talking to my sister the other day, and she's like, I never realized how important those moments are, like how much I'd miss that. And it's live
Yeah.
music, just something about the environment. There's electricity in the air, especially when it's a band you really, really like.
Yes.
It's just, and people, I think, take it for granted. And now that it's gone.
They did. And then now, so when shows come back, and they come back like normal, and, you know, let's hope they do. I mean, we don't know how long this is all going to go, but, you know,
Right.
It's going to be, people are going to rush back to it, and
Venues are going to be packed.
Yes, because they get to go again, you know. And,
Absolutely.
so let's hope it happens sooner before I grow too old. So.
Well, that is so cool. Do you guys have any plans when anything lined up, or are you guys kind of just
We're kind of in a
low?
holding pattern, trying to do some online stuff. It's kind of hard to nail everybody down for stuff, but nothing, you know, I'm just doing my videos, just trying to keep it out there, you know. I do, you know, solos from songs or whatnot, and just try to keep the visual part of it out there. I play a lot of old videos that from the shows. I post those and give people a little taste here of what we've done, but there's nothing we have planned for, you know, for lockdown or anything like that. So
Sure. Probably best to just wait and see what happens, or else they'll book shows, cancel shows, book shows, cancel shows. I know guys that are like trying to book shows, and it's just, I mean, they just canceled NAMM and it's 6 months away. So,
well, yeah, and I mean, we knew that was going to happen. So
I think that's good. They kind of just did it. It sucks. But
it would have been such a nightmare
yeah.
for people just to, you know, the fear factor alone, because people get sick anyway when they go to NAMM. I mean, that's the first thing that happens. The NAMM.
Yeah, everyone always jokes about NAMMthrax.
And so, you know, a lot of people say that they got this thing, you know, before anybody knew about it there in January. So, because a lot of people came down with something real nasty that they didn't know about or didn't know what it was, you know, in the weeks following. But yeah, it's a bummer. I was looking forward to it. You know, I've been to the last 3 or 4 in a row. The one in 2018 was cool because I didn't, you know, I just had my idea, and I kind of floated it to the guys at EVH, you know, to Matt Brown and whatever, and he was like, yeah, whatever, okay, you know. And then in 2019, you know, he was like, you know, hey,
Warming up to it.
yeah, and I was giving out shirts, you know, and picks at that one, 2019. Okay. You know, no gigs yet, nothing. We weren't even up and running, but I was pre-pubbing it, you know, just trying to push it, you know. And I, you know, I gotta, if I could advise anybody who's trying to do a project like this, you know, fake it till you make it is not just a saying. It's a real live breathing thing.
Absolutely.
And you know, the enthusiasm people will show for your product will will only be as much as you show for it, if that makes any sense. I mean, if you know, it only takes one person to start a fire, right? So I
Yep.
started this fire, and it's burning, and it
That's an
has
awesome way to
burned.
put it.
Yeah, and it's all because, you know, I made it seem like there was something, even when there was nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Because why not? What's the worst that could happen? It doesn't happen, and people are like, you know, oh, what was that thing you were trying to start? You know, I mean, it
Right.
just doesn't. It goes away.
Worst case scenario, it doesn't happen.
Right, but the other way is, you know, wow, I really want to see this, and I want this to happen, and just that vibe alone coming from outside will help push yourself into making it happen for them.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I needed that, because I was dead set to make this happen. You know, once I suffered that devastation with Taylor Hawkins, you know, I was devastated because I really went home that night thinking that I was the new guitar player for Chevy Metal,
Mm-hmm.
based on what he said and what he, you know, basically dangled in front of me, which was, I'm going to call you, we're going to rehearse, we're going to fly somewhere, I'm going to give you a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Cool. You know, these are his words, and, you know,
It sounds like that fueled you, though. That really fueled the whole idea, because you said you just wanted to.
yeah.
Trying to think of the way to put it. That you just wanted to, you know,
Well,
make this your thing, and
Well,
make
yeah,
it huge.
and I knew I could play. You know, you get to a point in your life, you know, you've got, you know, the goods, and you know, all your friends know, your family knows, and but they also know that you've never really done anything with it, you know,
Mm-hmm.
which is a bummer. And I'm going to be honest, it's a form of depression, you know, for me
Absolutely.
over the years. You know, you want to fulfill your dreams, or just fulfill your you know, goals or whatever, or your, you know, live up to what you know, when you work this hard on something, it's your passion, you want to live it, you know, and obviously to see monetary returns from it would be the greatest thing in the world, because everyone wants to work at something they love, and that's a fact, especially now. You know, no one wants to date, you know, 9 to 5 when they can do what they
Right.
love doing, get
Rather
paid
do what I
for it,
love doing.
right? Like a YouTuber. But uh, uh, you know, the fulfillment I've gotten just from my friends and my family, who finally got to see some traction with my music stuff, is worth more than any money that I could
Absolutely.
make
Well,
from
it was
this.
never about money, really, was it?
No, it was just about an opportunity to play, uh, you know, and to show what I have. You know, I've always, you know, like I said, my family, my friends know what I could do, but nobody else. And now I'm in this discussion of players that can do this sort of thing, and, you know, one of the finer players that can do it. And that to
Mm-hmm.
me is, you know, surreal.
What an honor.
It's amazing. And totally unexpected. I never thought that it would come about after all these years. You know, I gave up on it. It used to be my dream, you know, was to be one of the greats, and
Mm-hmm.
considered one of the greats, and and I'm not saying that's what's happening now, because I know my limitations, I know what I can do. But now a lot of people, and the comments and the messages I get all these DMs from people, and the things they're saying, it's crazy. You know, it doesn't compute, but it does feel good, because
I
I've
bet.
worked hard, you know, worked a long time, to try and get to that point. Hey, what's up? See? All right. That's better though. But yeah, so yeah, I would say, if you have a passion, follow it, and good things will happen, and it's not as far away as you think it is,
Mm-hmm.
if you really just put your all into it, you know. So
Very cool. What awesome advice. I guess you've pretty much nailed all my questions, but I got one more question for you. You probably know it's coming. You ready?
Okay.
What's your favorite Van Halen album and your favorite Van Halen song?
Okay. Well, I mean, these are things I discuss because we're nerds.
See, I've got to know.
The song part changes, it's it's so hard to say one song, if I had to pick, like, because I mean, there's songs I love to play live that are fun that I love to play, but they're not my favorite song. Like Hot for Teacher is so fun to play live,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not my favorite Van Halen song. Um, I love playing Unchained just because it's what we start with every night, and you're instantly into the fire, so to speak, when you get it going. I've often said that playing this music at full volume is like flying a jet fighter.
Right.
You feel like you're strapped in and you're moving, and there's G-force, and that song definitely packs the punch. And but as far as album, I think it goes back just to because when I met Eddie in '83, they were talking about the album they were working on, which was 1984. So the anticipation of the release of that record was felt by me more than anybody, just because I knew it was coming, and what they were, that I wanted to hear it as bad as I could, because I'd already
Yep.
completely sourced the previous 5 records and had them ready. But when that new album finally came out, it was pretty amazing. And but as far as sound, and this is where a lot of people might at me after this, I think my favorite Van Halen tone and sound comes from the record Diver Down. And
It's very underrated. I mean, it was a huge album, but I think when in the grand aspect of Van Halen, that album's forgotten so much, but there's so much great material on there.
yeah, I think people poo-poo it because it's all covers or half covers, and it's they put it together in a week because they had to, and but it sounds like you're in the room with the band. It's the only record where it sounds like it's totally stripped down and not a lot of production on it.
Right.
And the tone on songs like "Where Have All the Good Times Gone" and "The Full Bug,"
It's one of my favorites, The Full Bug.
yeah, that tone is, to me, his best sound that he's ever gotten on record, just because
Okay.
it's raw. It's raw.
It's just, yeah, straightforward Eddie.
Right. Hang 'em high,
Oh, yeah.
stuff like that. So that's my favorite Eddie sound record. So, but 1984 is probably my favorite of all of them, just because of the time in my life, I guess, that I was a fan. And I was able to see the 1984 tour, which was awesome as well. So but song, oh God,
They're all your favorite.
yeah. I mean, there's so many. There's so many. You can't. They're like children, right? Like, how am I going to say which kid I love the most?
Yeah.
So, just that's an answer I probably took from Eddie, because I think he's been asked, like, what's your favorite song, or whatever.
Probably changes every night.
Yeah, it does. So,
Did you lose interest in them with when they went with the Sammy and like his tone really changed? Did you lose interest in them at all?
I didn't, because I was, just a couple years into it.
Okay.
So by, '86, it was only 2 or 3 years after the initial meeting and the fire was set. I didn't care if they came back with, Bozo the Clown singing. It was,
Right.
And I still have that attitude today. Van Halen's always been about the brothers for me, the connection that they have, the musical symbiotic connection that they have is what the secret is to that band. the teamwork between those two.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you grow up playing with someone your entire life, it reflects in the music, it reflects in the sound, it reflects in the connection. And, you know, Eddie's right hand and Alex's right hand are the same. And that's why that music is so.
You know it's them when you hear it.
Yes. I mean, as signature a sound as Eddie Van Halen has, Alex has the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and Alex is not a conventional drummer at all. He's very jazzy, and is doing a lot of little things inside. Not as crazy as Keith Moon, but in a Keith Moon kind of style. There's a lot of extras going on with Alex, and people don't pick up on it because obviously you're in a band with Eddie Van Halen.
Exactly.
It's just not going to be. You're never going to be the guy. So, but yeah, for me, it was always about the two of them. I didn't care who was singing. There's a lot of great Sammy material. I love getting into it with people who are just hardcore Roth fans, and you know,
It's kind of fun.
it is, and
I love both sides, so
they're
it's kind
nuts. You know, they're nuts. People long for the past, and you know, everything evolves, everything changes. It's you have to accept that.
Yep.
And you know, I had some great experiences. The 5150 tour, I was able to see from the front row. You know.
Okay.
So, you know, I don't think I'd ever seen a Van Halen show from the front row. You know.
How'd you manage that? It's probably general admission then?
No, it was actually a contest. So they played 3 nights at the Forum in 1986 in July of 1986. And the first night, I remember I went to one of those ticket brokers and paid like $85 for an 8th row seat.
Okay.
And you know, which is a lot of money in 1986
For a concert too. That's a lot of money then.
When the ticket price is probably $20 or something. So I remember I had my dad drop me and I was told to be here in 4 hours and I'll meet you. But he ended up getting his own ticket and coming in.
Oh, really?
And he actually stood next to me in the 8th row for the whole show because no one ever said anything to him. Like it was
wow.
funny. So he saw the Van Halen from the 8th row in 1986. But I noticed that day that the local radio station KMET was doing a contest where they were looking for people with wearing outrageous things that said Van Halen and KMET on them. And they were doing a ticket upgrade. So they would upgrade you to the first few rows of the show. So I saw that was happening. So 2 nights later, I got, nosebleeds just, and went with a friend of mine. And we made a huge sheet and painted all this Van Halen KMET stuff on it and cut 2 holes in it. We just walked around with like a walking banner. And they found us and gave us tickets, put us on the radio,
no kidding.
us. And, the ticket said second row comp, and we went down there. And when the show started, everyone just went to the barricade and I was like, out of my way.
Get out of my way.
So dead center, front row for the 5150 tour and surreal,
I bet.
Awesome.
See Eddie's solo that close too.
Just to see those guitars and
I've seen Sammy Hagar, but I've never seen Van Halen live. What is it like when Eddie plays a solo? Is it like, is everyone screaming, cheering, or is it just like, is everybody just focusing on him?
You know what I love to watch, because I've seen about 15 Van Halen shows over the years, and
very cool.
What I like to watch the ushers.
Okay.
All right, because the ushers, they're not Van Halen fans, right?
Right.
But they know something that's that's spectacular when it's happening, right?
Interesting. Yeah.
So if you watch the ushers, or even the security guys, you can kind of tell that this is special. So when you look at one of the ushers and they're like,
what's going on?
it's very cool, because like you want other people to be into what you're into. It's just that's human nature. So when Eddie's playing his solo, everyone's he's doing something and then he stops and everyone goes woo, and then
Yeah.
it's the same solo that he's done
Sure.
for 40 years, but it's still amazing, and it's still what it is. And I mean, it's hard to watch your heroes grow old. There's definitely, you can tell certain things aren't the way they were.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also just great to see them doing their thing,
Right?
No matter what or how they can do it. Just the fact that that's him, he's doing it. Look at his face, he's enjoying himself. Look at all this amazing content he's made for us.
Yeah.
All the joy he's brought us. It's a celebration of that. So anytime they play live, that's how I take it, is that we're celebrating the entire package of it. So
Very cool.
yeah.
Well, I guess before we wrap it up, any other cool stories or anything? Do you want to?
Okay, I'll tell the that story where he thought I was someone else.
Oh yeah, let's hear it.
So in 2012, they did their a different kind of truth tour for that record that they made with Dave.
What do you think of that album, by the way?
I like it. I think there's a lot of great tunes.
I do too.
I'm not crazy about his tone on it, just because I'm not into the modern Eddie tone as much. I think it's just too dirty and too grimy.
The first time my friend showed me that album, I was like, I don't know, it's good, but his tone's not there. And it's like, he's using his new, well, not new, but kind of new 5150s. And I'm like, for the longest time, just like, I just don't like 5150s, but obviously that wasn't true. I have a 5150 now, but I think that's funny. We both kind of thought that his tone's definitely not my favorite, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah, well, it's evolved over the years and gotten, raspier and dirtier and muddier, but I wish there are certain things were different about the production of that record. I think that Alex is not as loud as he usually is on a record. I think Dave is way too loud in the mix, and I secretly figured out that he helped produce the record, so that makes a lot of sense. So, but there are some great songs, and I'm glad it happened.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of people talk about Wolfgang in a negative way, but without Wolfgang, there'd be no Dave Eddie reunion.
Right.
It just would have never happened. It was Wolfgang who talked his dad into, getting that back together. It was
Wolfgang gets so much crap on social media.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
And he's a great dude, and this is where the story starts. So in 2012, when they were touring, I'd already had tickets to 3 of the shows: the LA show, the Anaheim show, and the Phoenix show. My mother-in-law lived in Tempe, Arizona, so we were going to make a trip out of that and go to the concert. So the LA shows were the week prior, and at the time the Stanley Cup final was taking place, where the Kings were in the Stanley Cup final, and I'm a huge hockey fan.
Okay.
And they were playing at the Staples Center, and I went to a Stanley Cup final game and had pretty good seats, and lo and behold, Wolfgang sits like 3 rows in front of me.
No kidding.
So I during the first intermission, I went up and spoke to him and talked to him for the 15 minutes of the intermission, told him in a shorter version all the stories that I've told you, but made it, the impression on him like, wow, this guy's really been affected by my dad. And but he'd already liked some of the content I had posted about the Kings on social media because he was a huge Kings fan, and everybody in this town was following their Stanley Cup run. So, so to make a long story short, he followed me on social media, and I sent him a message about, look, we're going to be in Phoenix. I'd love to maybe come backstage if possible, impress my wife or whatever. And he was like, well, we're actually leaving right after the show, but any other time I would do that. So we go to the show, and then his girlfriend at the time messages me like, where are you guys? And
No kidding.
yeah. So blah, blah, blah. I couldn't find her. And then I saw Matt Bruck, who's Eddie's assistant. And Matt was at that hockey game too. So he knew about me. And he's like, hey, man, and then he wanted to talk about the Kings. And I'm like, look, she was trying to find us. I don't know what for. And he goes, let me find out. So he goes back, and he comes back 5 minutes later and gives us passes.
No kidding.
And says, like, Wolfgang would like you to be his guest after the show. And so, like, I'd never wanted a Van Halen show to pass quicker,
Right. Just get it over with.
Yeah. And we went back and got taken into Wolfgang's dressing room, and his mom was there, and his uncle, and it was really cool. All he wanted to talk about was the Kings, because they just won the Stanley Cup, and it was surreal. And then 5 minutes in, Eddie walks in, and he looks at me and he goes, hey, man. And I'm like, hey. And he goes, congratulations. He goes,
for what?
He goes, what's it like to lift that thing up? And I'm like looking around. He goes, don't you get like a week with it or whatnot? And, and I go, and I look at Wolf, and Wolf's shaking his head like, oh. He goes,
it's not him.
He goes, Dad, I told you I met him at the game. He's not on the team. And the whole room erupts in laughter, and Eddie's like blushing and and laughing, and
that is too funny.
It was hilarious because to have your hero looking at you like, oh my, hey, it's you,
dude, good to see you.
Even though it wasn't for the right reason, but it was still.
Right.
I was still going like, is this a joke? Like, what is going on here? But it was funny, and it was a great laugh, and very cool. So,
that is, it's too funny.
It is. I've always been able to find my way into places. So
yeah, how do you do that? I haven't even been able to see him yet.
You know what? I don't know. I just I find it hard to take no for an answer, I guess, and it's not like a Jedi mind trick or anything, but there is power in just being honest and real. So
yeah,
just be like that, I guess, and people can see it. So they'll let you in. I don't know.
They'll let you backstage.
They'll let you back. Yeah.
You think they'll tour again?
No.
No, me either.
I don't.
I missed my only shot. I was a week after I turned 16, just got my license, just got a car, and I was like, Mom, I'm driving to Detroit. I'm going to go see Van Halen. And she was like, You're not driving to Detroit. And I'm like, why not? She's like, you just got your license. You're not driving to Detroit. So that was my missed shot at seeing Van Halen.
That was exactly for the US Festival, because the US Festival was like 6 weeks after I'd met him the first time.
Oh, okay.
And I said, I have to go to this concert. And it was, in a dirt park with 500,000 people.
Yeah.
GA. And,
people getting trampled everywhere.
And I'm 13 still, and they were like, no way. And they didn't let me go. And I was depressed for a while, but I'm glad I didn't go after hearing the stories. But
yeah, it seems like it was an interesting festival, to say the least.
The biggest ever. So.
Well, cool, man. I really
Thanks,
appreciate
Jake.
you doing this. And like I said, if you don't mind, after we're done, why don't you shoot me all your links you want me to put down below? So I'll probably go up on Friday. So
Sure.
Yeah, and I'll make sure to plug your content. And yeah, this is really cool. I really appreciate you doing it. It was really cool to hear all your stories.
I appreciate you reaching out. You know, this is all fun for me. It's a great experience I'm having, and can't wait to continue it for sure.
Very cool. Well, like I said, thanks again, man. I guess I'll go ahead and stop recording. I'll end it here. But yeah, I'm going to keep following your band, and hopefully we see you out there soon.
Definitely. Thanks so much, everybody.
Yeah. All right. See you later, man.
All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning into this video, but also I want to extend a huge thank you to Caleb for doing this video. This was super cool and by far one of my favorite videos I've ever shot. I did not expect to see so many cool pieces of his gear, but also hear so many cool stories, and I am just geeked. Before we tune out, don't forget that down below in the description is links to all their social media, their merch, nerdhalen.com, all that is down below. And come on, you gotta grab one of these shirts. You just gotta. Alright guys, that's going to wrap it up for today's video. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, throw a thumbs up on this video, and any comments, drop them down below. See you guys later.